race with a very wet track, and we've had 2 further incidents for clear-up operations. This most recent in the most challenging part of the track for all cars, which is in the Porsche curves, and ironically it was one of the factory GT Porsches that has lost its load, dumped its engine oil. 91 car is at the side of the track smoking heavily, and judging by the mess in the Porsche curves, isn't be going any further. Chris Parsons, it's Porsche's year, is it? I mean, now they're going to have to start looking at the AM class as the only way realistically of being looking to win, unless they do catch a bit of a fortunate break.
Unless that number 2 can somehow find a way into the Toyotas, but it looks unlikely as the Toyotas have a problem, doesn't it?
Well, we had number 7 Audi early on with a turbocharger failure. They said no, it's definitely not going to happen to the number 8 car because these things don't strike twice. We've had the number 1 Porsche drop down almost out of top 50 with an issue. These cars are identical, they're built in pairs.
Yes. Is that a rogue quarter pump? We'll wait and see. And also, we know that they've had problems with their batteries.
Yep.
All right, they've gone back to the last year's specification, but last year they were very reliable. So we see it's all to go for. But as you say, Porsche not having a good year right now.
If there's only 2 of you and one of you fallen off.
Engine off. It's over. Just place the car in a safe place. It's over. Sorry.
And you see the small fire there in the engine bay, hot oil spewing out of the line onto hot exhaust. And you heard the engineer just saying, bin it, forget it, it's blown. It's blown fairly comprehensively well, a little flash fire there as well, but not before it had laid oil all the way through the Porsche curves. And Jeremy, sure, there's no option there but to safety car that. That is so dangerous. You hit that at 160 miles an hour in a prototype, you're hitting everything else in the county.
Yeah, and I think the race officials there did a really good job to get the safety car as soon as they possibly could. And I mean, certainly the safety car was out before we had any indication, we had any sort of a picture at all to suggest anything was wrong out there in the Porsche curves. And yeah, if there's one place you don't want oil on any racetrack anywhere, particularly not here, going into the Porsche curves at night.
The only thing that could be worse would be if it was raining as well.
Yes. Just to add insult to injury.
So that looks like a Ferrari team that can do a full service there. They've got a lot of equipment out on the track, on the pit road.
The only slight problem with stopping now is that you give up track position and you'll drop into a separate safety car queue. There are 3 safety cars going around. One exits the pit exit, one comes on at the first chicane on the Mulsanne straight, the other one comes on at Arnage, and they split the field up and they try and go at an even pace so you don't lose or gain too much. It's a brief safety car. You really can lose out if you get stuck 2 or 3 safety car queues further back than your rivals. However, this ain't going to be a brief safety car. This could well be out for 20 minutes to get stuff down to clear up that oil, because that Porsche was pumping oil out all the way through the Porsche curves. Looking down here at one of a number of cars that are in for work.
They're replacing the number.
Well, there's
panel.
also work going on underneath the floor. These number panels are really vital to allow race control to keep an eye on what's going on. In the pits is our class leader in the LMP2 class. No lights on the side of it illuminated. So in fact, it came in as class leader, but as it's got to line, it's dropped down out of the top 3.
Maybe
What has? No, so it's still
lights illuminated on the side. Should have one light on the side. Hasn't got any lights up on the side.
It'll be resuming behind the next safety car, and that will probably put it into, I believe, second place behind René Rast in car number 26, because we'll have to wait there at the end of the pit lane until the next safety car comes past, and then once all the other cars have gone by behind that, then these cars will be released.
Jeremy, you and I know that the safety car rules in sports car racing are so complicated, especially at Le Mans, which is such a long circuit, and we have 3 safety cars. to try and equalise things out.
No, it doesn't equalise anything. It just means, I don't know, I'm still not 100% sure why they do it. It's a pet peeve of mine, certainly, particularly now where we have the Code 60 system in place, and I don't see why the cars can't go around and catch up to the back of the field and just have one safety car, because
then somebody gains a lap.
Don't gain a lap.
Yeah, they do. If the safety car comes out just after you've shot by the pit exit and picks up the car who's right behind you by even a couple of seconds, and you're allowed to charge on and join the back of the safety car queue, you pick up pretty much a lap.
Tires are getting freezing cold. It's going to be very hard to start. If it lasts quite long, I think we should stop and fit the tires and restart if it lasts 6 laps. Yes, it's due behind you. It's due behind you. We are racing them. Yes, we are racing them.
So, you know, again, there's an issue. You've got Sebastian Buemi on the radio saying the tyre temperature have gone, yeah, his tyres now are basically mahogany. They're giving him so little grip, and he's now got Romain Dumas, the very next car in the queue behind him. He wants to come in for tyres, and the team is saying, we really don't think that's a great idea, because you're surrendering track position and you're in second place. But these things are going to yo-yo up and down, these gaps will yo-yo up and down, and the chances are this isn't the last safety car. You might get it back, you might not.
Yeah, but to come in just for tyres out of sync is sacrificing quite a lot.
You're sacrificing more if you have to restart and there's no tyre temperature, because he's going to have to go hard at it and will likely go off.
But presumably it'll be the same for the Porsche, because he must be having the same problems.
Different car.
Yes.
Maybe on a softer nighttime compound, we don't know, but we'll have to see exactly what transpires from that. Long queue waiting to rejoin the track. To take a quick pause. Safety car remains out at Le Mans as the cars come through the Porsche curves, where we have a big oil slick after the factory GTE Pro Class Porsche has dropped its guts. The 91 car, which had Kevin Escher at the helm, we saw in replay with the radio message from the team going, turn it off, park it somewhere safe, it's over.
Duval, we still 565, P2, we still P1. Seb is P2, Dumas P3, Duval P4, but 8 laps behind. Okay, copy. Duval and me in close together in the next
Well, they slightly miscalculated that.
Right.
Dumas is 2 laps behind, not 8 laps behind. Number 7, Audi, is 8 laps behind. But it wasn't the car to which he was referring. Dumas is 2 laps behind in the number 8 Audi. So that was the message to Mike Conway, the race leader, the number 6 Toyota. His teammate Sebastian Buemi is 2.5 minutes behind, and Romain Dumas is 2.5 minutes behind. They are in the next safety car queue back, below or behind which he would drop were he to come in for the tyres now. And Jeremy Shaw, they eschewed coming in behind the previous safety car because it didn't fit their fuel economy plan, and I would imagine they will, when they get to 14 lap, they will come in fuel, or possibly 15 lap, because behind the safety car they'll be able to sip it parsimoniously for maybe, I don't know, maybe they might be able to go a 16th lap. But they are sticking to the plan, aren't they? No matter what distractions are thrown at them. Come on, come to me, come into my pit lane. No, I don't think we'll bother, thank you.
No, that's right. And when the last safety car was out, which was only an hour or so ago, in actual fact, we did see Stéphane Sarrazin bring that car. As soon as we went back to green, he brought the car onto pit lane for service and a driver change, and that was pretty much right on schedule. And because of the fact that the car was, the tyres would have been cold, it was a good idea to come in then rather than doing. They could have done one more lap, but I think it was a good idea to come in then, get fresh tyres, hot tyres, get out there, and as soon as he could get on the racetrack, he was running fast.
Been suggested that now would be a very good time for GT teams to bring their car in for a brake change, and we saw the 68 Ford with the front engine cover off, or bonnet off. It's not an engine cover because the engine's at the back, and of course you would need to take that off to access the brake fluid reservoir to make sure that you topped it up if needed, when you were bleeding the brakes if needed. So it may well be that 68 has come in for a brake change. In the GT Pro class, the number 82 Rizzi Competizione car is still the lead Ferrari. That's Tony Vilander. He leads the field. Richard Westbrook second in the 69 Ford, and in 68 the pole position sitting car that lies in third place, which currently has Dirk Muller at the wheel. If that's come in for a brake change, then chances are everybody else will as well. Now, of course, what you want to do is lose as few safety car queues as possible, but can't imagine that it's going to be just one. You might drop back 2 safety cars. You might even drop an entire lap doing a brake change. Depends on how proficient and how easily and serviceable your car's been engineered to be.
I know that during qualifying, Corvette were practicing doing brake changes, and they were able to change up the pads, the calipers, and the discs in under a minute.
Wow!
So they're obviously expecting to have to do it, and they built the car to be able to do it very, very quickly.
So apparently you can get better than the quick fit fitter.
Yeah, I think the number 68 car, I'd be surprised if it's exactly what they, if they didn't do exactly that on its last pit stop. It's taken them 3 minutes to get that car back out on track. Number 68 car, it's still running in the third place in the class. It might, has it lost a lap compared to the others? No, I don't think it has. It's just going to be, it is going to be behind an extra safety car, so yeah. It's going to be 2 safety cars behind, but it is still on a lead lap with, we presume, brake pad change done.
Yes, and no disc change done. Other than just pads, you'll change the entire lot to match set, won't you?
So, rotors, but it's mechanism.
But as we're not even halfway yet, they may have to do it again.
No, I think they'll probably be able to stretch it from here, more than likely. They're only going to do the change now because under safety car. They're good to go for probably
2/3 distance probably before they start.
Yeah, hopefully 13 hours and 45 minutes.
Well, of course, the other thing now is we are in the coolest part of the night now for the next 4, 5, 6 hours, and so that means that there will be more cooling effect on the brakes, so they will stand a slightly better chance of surviving than perhaps they might do during the heat of the day, as that comes later on. But yeah, if they're changing them now, they're obviously fairly much convinced that they will go all the way through. In safety car queue with the number 2 Porsche, that is the car that lies in 3rd place. And just in front you can see the number 5 Toyota, 2nd place car Sebastian Buemi, and the Porsche is 2 cars behind in the safety car queue. There is one LMP2 car in between. That is one of the 2 BR01 LMP2 cars, the SMP racing cars. So whether it's 27 or 37, a little hard to tell at that distance. Teams will be able to tell you because you can see that the sort of assortment of different light patterns on the front of the cars. A lot of the cars will have an extra light. You'll see some GT cars with lights down the windows, around the edge, or in the case of the Fords, straight down the centre windshield. And various other cars have illuminated headlights or whatever.
We are thinking about the FIFA. We're not in the winter to pit yet. We're not in the winter to pit yet. We don't know how safety car will last on the track. We're looking for options. Yeah, I stressed it before to get ready. The safety car is low. At some point, maybe we have to refuel and put new tires because it's going to be hard to restart them properly.
Yeah, and that was Sebastian Buemi again, once again confirmed with the team. This car has now completed 158 laps. Buemi was last on pit lane on 150 laps, so they're still just more than halfway through a fuel sip. We'll be right back.
Звучит как спорткар. Дарит чувство спорткара. Маневренный, как спорткар. И герб на нем свидетельство спорткара. Porsche Macan. Для тех, кто верит, что каждый автомобиль Porsche – это спорткар.
Welcome back to Le Mans with 13 and a half hours still to go. Safety car remains out for clear-up operations from a big engine blow-up in the Porsche curves. And just hearing drivers on the radio during the break complaining about low tyre temperature. Originally we had the Porsche drivers on, the Audi and Toyota drivers all now on, saying that their tyre temperatures have gone away. Jeremy Shaw. That's going to continue basically until they are released from behind these safety cars, because there is no quick running anywhere on the circuit.
No, because these cars are running in low drag, low downforce configuration here at Le Mans, it does make it even more difficult, particularly when it's cold, very cool like it is right now, to build that temperature back into the tires. And until those tires do build up that temperature and the pressures within them, then it can make things very, very difficult for the drivers. It's very, very easy to make a mistake.
Now, we talked about brake changes. Beach Dean have just changed the brakes on the 99 AM car, so Liam Griffin has been sent out, according to Aston Martin. And Ford did do calipers as well. Some teams in the GT classes will change calipers as well as pads. Some will just change pads. And if they had needed 2 brake changes to get through, they would already have made their first one before the halfway mark. Stands to reason. It would be 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. So lots and lots of dust at the Porsche curbs from the cars going through that quick dry to try and soak up the oil from the 91 Porsche. But definitely no reports of rain so far. Originally it was supposed to be fairly wet, miserable and thundery all the way through the race, and that has gradually improved the forecast. Still not entirely sure that we can guarantee it won't get damp at any stage, but certainly yesterday before we got into the race the forecast was for a dry Sunday. Safety car will come in this lap.
Okay, so Mike Conway is one safety car ahead of the rest of the contenders, that being Sebastian Buemi and Romain Dumas, and they've just got a couple of slower cars between them. In LMP2 we've now got 3 cars behind the same safety car. That would be number 26 car, René Rast, that leads the way at the moment. That is for G-Drive Racing, and behind him is Matthias Besch in car number 46 for TDS, and in third place Gustavo Menezes in the Signatec Alpine, also in Orca Chassis. So Orca Chassis are 1, 2, 3, and those 3 cars are not nose to tail, but there's only relatively few seconds between them. In GTE Pro, Toby Lander, the full safety car ahead of Richard Westbrook, and the third place car in the class is Dirk Müller. He is one more safety car further back as well. So the 3 leaders in GTE Pro have been very much split up by this safety car period. In GTE AM, David Heinemeyer Hansen leads in number 88. That's the Abu Dhabi Proton Porsche. And Bill Sweedler in the Ferrari is one safety car back, about 2 minutes back in second place. And then Rob Bell now has moved up to third place in the class car number 61, 1 lap behind as Martin.
We go green. So the safety car pulls off in the pit lane, safety car pulls off at the chicane, safety car pulls off at Arnage, and they try and synchronise all those together. Eduardo Freitas is trying to make sure they are all in the right position so that nobody loses unnecessarily, with one set of safety car queue going green and the others still in yellow formation. So the full circuit is green once more. And for the man who leads, Mike Conway, nobody immediately in his safety car queue to put him under pressure, which is why our race director has gone straight back to the battle for second, because as we ride with Romain Dumas, that is Sebastian Buemi, and that is the pass for second place. Dumas had low tyre temperature woes, but Buemi was complaining about it several laps behind the safety car earlier, and as a result, it looks like the Porsche had a little bit more grip to go with.
Didn't it? We saw that after the previous safety car as well. The Porsche was really on the case right away when we went back to green, and the Toyota's struggling a little bit at least in comparison. Number 26 car, by the way. Number 26 car, the lead in LMP2
came in.
Yeah.
So did Scott Sharp and Oz Negri. Those cars have both come in from the P2 class. So too Alexander Imperatore in the number 13, the sole remaining healthy Rebellion. Nico Prost just left the pits in the number 12 car, which down in 34th position. The big change there on the leaderboard, Porsche up to second place with their remaining healthy car, the number 2 machine, Romain Dumas, jumping Sebastian Buemi at the restart. Buemi, of course, one of a number of Formula E drivers in the field. I'd forgotten about him because I was talking about Sam Bird there earlier on. No blow up there from number 2 car, don't worry. And that's just going through the cement dust that is down to clear up the oil from a blow up on the number 91 GT class Porsche.
There are going to be some very dirty windscreens, aren't they, with all that cement dust flying around.
And rather more importantly, some very dirty illuminated light panels, which won't be quite as illuminated as they should be. Lots of cars were requested to bring their cars in to clean those off, because of course we started in the rain. Heavy rain, heavy braking means lots of brake dust caked down the side of the car. The teams are always very careful to clean the windscreen and to clean the front headlights, but nobody really paid attention to the side illuminated panels until it got dark, and then that was a very wide line, and then the race director pointed out that in fact they couldn't tell who half the cars were, and would they mind cleaning the sides also. So Buemi is pushing hard, isn't he? And I think he slightly didn't have quite the grip he wanted there as he got to the lock curve. Down through the S's, LMP2 class car in front. He is closing, but not fast, and going flash. And that is the number 30 Extreme Speed Motorsport car. That's the Scott Sharp car that's on an outlap. We just saw him coming in. So that car is in 21st place. By the way, the leader in LMP2, 7th overall at the moment. When we were saying, not entirely tongue-in-cheek, that it might not be impossible to get a Rebellion on the outright podium. It's not entirely impossible. We might not get an LMP2 car in the outright podium. We've still got 13.5 hours to go. We've had an awful lot of trials and tribulations so far.
Yeah, the Rebellion's kind of a 13. That's the non-hybrid LMP1 car. He's running in 5th place, but the number 7 Marcel Fassler was delayed very much, well, with 2 delays during this race. He is now back on the lead lap and less than 1 minute behind.
We can take a quick commercial break as the number 8 Audi comes down pit road, pitting from 4th position. We'll be back with more live coverage in a second. Welcome back to Le Mans, 13.5 hours and counting to go in the world's greatest motor race. And it's being suggested that the marker of doom needs to be wielded for a second time over the number 47 KCMG car. Well, luckily we don't have any Tipex of redemption here, so we couldn't unmarker of doom it, and it appears to be retired for a second time. But we're not going for that. Fool us once, shame on you. Fool us twice, shame on us. So we're not having that. We do, however, we believe, have a second retirement, and that is number 91 Porsche. And so the marker of doom is going to be wielded over the Porsche of Patrick Pilet, Kevin Estre and Nick Tandy. Last year's race winner is out, and Jeremy Shaw is also pointing to the 89 car, Cooper McNeil, Lee Keane and Mark Miller. That retired early on with a big crash from which it isn't coming back. I don't care how lazarine the repair work has been. So 47 may or may not be out. That remains to be officially confirmed. We don't actually get bits of paper shoved through the back of the door anymore that says gives us a little Bondon, so we kind of have to go ourselves. Thomas Smith is not going to get his engineering project written if he continues to watch the telly. Don't watch the telly, just listen. That works well, doesn't it?
Some controversy at the moment. We're trying to work out whether the rumour of the 9 o'clock rule actually exists, and that is that by the time that 9 o'clock in the morning comes, you have to have completed, I believe it's 50% of the distance covered by the leading car. So if somebody
7.5 hours from now, I wouldn't worry about that near.
Yeah, but all the same, people who don't have to watch the screen, otherwise people complain that you're not watching the screen, go and have a look in the rules.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind and help us out, that'd be great, because we'd just love to have that clarified, quite frankly. And Martin's craving sweets, and he's rejected a Réglisse Mentos, which is only available in France. He can't bring himself to chew on it.
That is not a sweet.
Réglisse being licorice Mentos, only available in France. Absolutely delicious, even though Martin's getting sniffy about it.
Can you imagine why they're only available in France? Meanwhile, everybody else is asleep.
In LMP2, we've got two different new leaders, actually. First of all, we had Matthias Besch back in the P2. That was after René Rast made a pit stop in car number 26. Well, Matthias Besch had just brought that number 46 TDS Thierry Oreca Nissan onto the pit lane. So that's Gustavo Menezes, the young Californian, into the lead in the Signature Alpine car number 36.
And here he is on your screen,
Here
21 years old, Angoleño, Gustavo Menezes, and he was in third place before the two cars in front of him stopped. And you can see that's not LED, is it? That's OLED, the screen in the centre there, and it sort of vibrates a little bit in the camera. I think it probably doesn't vibrate to the driver's eye view. Jake Dennis up to fourth place. The two Jota Sport cars are going very strongly indeed. Jake Dennis up to fourth, and the other one has now slipped down the order a fraction. Johnny Kane is in sixth. The BR01 of Kirill Ladygin is up to fifth position now, and Ho Pintung is sixth in the second of the Alpine.
Yeah, both of the BR01 cars, the Russian-built cars, really running well. As you say, there, Kirill Ladygin in the fifth position, and Nicola Nastia just 3 places further back, and just another couple of laps further back in the order as well.
Yeah, and Nick Minasian should be able to try and close a little bit on the car front. Ho Pintung 3 minutes behind Johnny Kane in a battle for sixth position, I think I said it was. But the lead battle is very close. René Rast, who was the lead before his pit stop, 33 seconds behind Gustavo Menezes, and another 16 behind him, Matthias Besch. So that's the de facto battle for the lead, because when Menezes pits, as he must, then he will drop back down to third position. Speaking of which, of course, after we jumped away from the safety car, we still had Mike Conway in the lead. He now leads by a minute from Romain Dumas, who was third in the safety car, and jumped ahead of Sebastian Buemi, who is now just 7 seconds behind him. The Porsche seemed to bring its tyres in much more quickly, either on the last lap behind the safety car or immediately after the safety car, and got in front of the Toyota. But Jeremy, how much of an overlap now is there in pit calls between the Toyotas and the Porsches?
Well, the Porsches are still only doing 13 laps on a stint. The Toyota is still doing 14, so that's just extending the kind of gap between those two. But the next car we're expecting onto pit lane will be the number 5 car, and that will be probably in 3, possibly 4 laps. And we heard Sebastian Buemi basically pleading with his team to allow him to come onto pit lane during that safety car period, because he knew the tyres were cold. He knew he was going to have difficult. As the number 71 car pulled off to the side of the road.
That is the car that Sam Bird's passed the team of, and that's the Ferrari in the GT Pro class that's had all the issues, isn't it? Davide Rigon and Andrea Bertolini sharing it, and they're not even. Oh, they are. It's Davide Rigon who's gone off 29th place overall, 30th place overall. Make that.
Both of the, of course, GTE Pro cars, the 51 and the number 71, both had a lot of problems in this race a long way down the order, and the Ferrari honour very much being upheld now by Risi Competizione, because Tony Vilander leads in that class, and he's got a pretty handy margin now over Richard Westbrook in the number 69 Ford GT.
Well, Davide Rigon appears to park that about as deeply in the muck as you did with our hire car earlier, Jeremy. So he's got out to have a look as well. He's not going to find either a bit of a push or any helpful strips of firm standing to get onto, so he will need a tow out from there. There's marshals, as you can see, just at the bottom of your screen. To all the marshals from wherever they've come, France, England, across Europe, Germany, lots of German marshals come here as well, America, Australia, New Zealand, keeping the drivers and everybody else safe, but that will need a tow. And we are not quite sure why we haven't got a slow zone yet, because that is going to need a snatch vehicle to get in there, and we will then have a slow zone down the S's.
Some pretty quick times being thrown in just before that incident. Dennis, the Gibson 38 car in LMP2 just posted a 340, 274. That was his last lap before the slow area has been declared. Some of the performances that have been produced throughout the field, sort of standout performances that perhaps those who've taken an extra leap ahead of where they were expecting to be. But for me, the way the Fords have actually performed here, I know they had a huge advantage. I thought maybe once they were hobbled it might be an issue, and certainly that maybe technically they didn't just have the longevity, but they're proving us, well, me in particular, completely wrong. Westbrook looking very, very handy indeed, running second in class. Third class is Muller. Weiland is still leading the pros. Welcome back. A slow zone remains because of a Ferrari in the gravel, and questions amongst ourselves as to whether Dirk Muller's fastest lap for the class 3:52.4, and indeed the Ford Pro. Now, welcome back as a family. We've been asking ourselves some questions, notably whether Dirk Muller's time will actually stand and whether he's going to find himself on the naughty step. 3:52.4 he set just before we went to the break. We were saying how impressed we were with the way the Fords are running, clearly at the cutting edge of their own little development curve, and still running very well. But too clean sanction, you think, maybe in the offing here, Mark?
Yes, he's not only set the fastest race lap for his car, he did it by setting the fastest first sector time, and I'd be amazed if he managed to get away before yellow flags came out for Davide Rigon parking his Ferrari in the gravel. If he did, then he's a lucky boy. If he didn't, then he's going to end up with a penalty of some kind. Now we have not only the Ferrari but also a tractor taking it out of the gravel, as that's why everybody is going through here at 80 kilometers an hour. That's the slow zone. Just saw David Hannemeyer Hansen coming out of the pit lane in the number 88 Porsche, Jeremy, make a note, which is still in the lead of the GTE AM class, not least because Bill Sweedler stopped behind him. Also the 82 car, Sweedler, Townsend Bell and Jeff Segal performing a driver change. So that is the number 62 car, second in the AM class. Third in the AM class is Rob Bell, no relation to Townsend Bell, but related to Matt Bell, brother of, and he lies in third place in the number 61 Ferrari, which is the Singapore entry. Jeremy presses the button.
Yes, but not the Matt Bell who races in the sports car series in the US.
In the US, no, the Matt Bell that races in the sports car series in the UK.
Yes.
So they are
two different Matt Bells.
Yeah,
yes.
they're both Geordies, and none of the other Bells are related to them. Some other Bells are. Oh dear.
Because the California Matt Bell it really makes things complicated.
I think we need to reverse out of this blind alley.
But I think that will be Townsend. Yeah, it is Townsend Bell who takes over the wheel of that car after a pretty good stint there by Bill Sweedley. He's kept that car in second place. And Dana Heinemann Hansen is already out on the racetrack after making his stop as well.
It's Taco Bell as well, of course. Keeping it food. Jules Radio says, does the licorice Mentos work with Coke bottle in the same way as the mint ones? No idea, but we'll probably find out tomorrow.
We won't, because we haven't got any Coke either.
Oh, you know,
it's a shopping fail. But luckily, we're in France, so the supermarkets will open at about 9 o'clock on Monday morning. We'll be able to eat again.
I went for a forlorn walk looking for Snap, as they say in York, and got absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
Everything had closed, nothing hot available, and £5 English pounds for a ham sandwich.
Yeah, well, it's better than nothing in a nose bag free zone like the hospitality units. There is nothing in hostility. I'm trying to make it 24 hours without any sleep, says Kieran Page. Well, you and the rest of us. Thomas Smith wants to know how many marshals does it take to run Le Mans? Without being facetious, a hell of a lot. I don't have any idea what the total number is, but bearing in mind, I mean, look at the marshals post there. There are 4 of them there, and there'll probably be 3 shifts. A lot.
I thought that was like a light bulb joke, and we're waiting for the punchline.
No. I mean, a huge number of marshals.
Well, thank heaven they're here, because we couldn't run it without them, and it's the same for motorsport generally. A great deal of volunteers. Everyone thinks about high income and huge monies, prize money, etc. But no, it's the marshals, it's the workaday people that keep this sport where it needs to be.
Number 5 Toyota in from third place on its own, Jeremy Shaw. Does that mean that Mike Conway has managed to squeeze out another lap? Has he wrung that juice, or is the Toyota in after 13?
It has been, since number 5 car was in, it's been 15 laps because we had that safety car period.
Okay, so Conway is the leader. He's going to go
laps.
at least 16. Because he's already gone by.
Yeah, no, he'll do 2 more laps. There were 2 laps apart on the
they were
last
staggered.
Yeah.
Okay. So Mike Conway remains the leader of the race. Sebastian Buemi comes back out in third place. Slow zone here to protect the marshals, the workers, and also the drivers, of course, because there is a very large, square, very solid foreign object in the gravel trap, into which Davide Rigon's Ferrari has proved it's very easy to stray. So coming down into the S's, until that rescue work is completed, the slow zone will remain. It will remain until 1:47 and 15 seconds. That's not the time at the top of the screen. It's not 1 in the afternoon and 12 minutes. That's time remaining. It's currently 1:47 and 10, 12, 13, 14, green. There you go.
Some of the runoff zones here are really quite extensive. They've actually been installed for the motorcyclists, which also grace this track. You can see the pickup in pace once they actually get unleashed from the slow zone, which still is there. Next slow zone removed at zone 2, but 3, 4, 5 are still in place. Yeah, safety first, particularly for the motorcyclists, it seems. They give them more space within which to finish their role, essentially.
And of course, the opening part of the circuit from the beginning of the pit lane all the way down to Tertre, almost all the way down to Tertre Rouge, is part of the Bugatti circuit, which is the permanent racetrack here, on which our cars are parked in a runoff area. Thanks to Jeremy. That is now part of the TV compound and parking and everything else, but that, all the low curbs, particularly there in the S's, when they wanted to get the French Grand Prix here for MotoGP, they had to change the old S's into these new sweeping S's that we've got, much lower curbs, and actually it's made it quite an entertaining part of the racetrack for race car drivers as well as for motorcycle races. Around 1,800 marshals, says Peter Hayes, and I don't even remotely question that. That's 1,800 people coming out of their own free will for free, for nothing, to come and marshal here. Able-bodied and also not so able-bodied marshals. So hello to Steve Tarrant, who is down in the pit lane, having worked for many years out on the circuit. He's now a pit lane marshal. He's got promoted, and he's down there along with a whole bunch of guys and girls from all over the world. And marshals, like fans, come from all over the world to be here.
Scouts, we've got plenty of those as well, who are, some of whom are more experienced than others, but generally speaking, they're always extremely polite and very, very good-natured, despite the fact that they're dealing with some quite grumpy people, especially when there was plenty of rain about earlier on. It's getting busy out there again.
Audi Team Road's Marcel Fassler, you have a front left puncher, box this lap, and he has done exactly as they have asked him. So in he comes, Marcel Fassler in the number 7 Audi, in with a deflating tyre. So this is the car that had the turbo change, then went out after having other work done and immediately went off and ripped the floor off. He's picked up a slow puncture, and they will change the tyre once they have fueled, cleaned, filled the oil, taken off a tear-off strip, yada, 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 full service. I love the way the mechanics just walk up the nose of the car. Imagine if they did that in your local garage to clean it on the screen. They would be all hell on.
That little snooze part, well, just above the front wheel, where the vent is. I've seen them manhandling the car and taking back in on the dollies into the garage using that. It's got quite, excuse me, an amazing amount of strength to it.
Well, Carlton dives quietly off there. The number 7 car is back on its way again, and there's a reason that they know that it's got puncture, not because they saw a tyre flailing around all over the place, because when it came in, clearly it had air in and was all in one piece, but these cars have tyre temperature and tyre pressure monitoring sensor systems, because when you are doing 160 to 200 miles an hour, a tyre failure tends to be a very major issue, and as a result, any slight drop in pressure and therefore hike in temperature is immediately monitored and reported back to the pits, and it sets off all sorts of alarm bells.
Very true, and that was a relatively quick stop there by number 7 car, because it's certainly way off our schedule, because that car shouldn't have been on pit lane for another 5 or 6 laps, so they probably needed a little bit more than half a tank of fuel, and they changed the tyres. Marcel Fassler on his way again, but once again he just about caught up to the tail of the number 13 car, been tracking that down, trying to wrest away at 5th position again, still now 9 laps or 8 or 9 laps behind the overall leader, but every time the number 7 car gets close to number 13 car, has some sort of a little glitch again, this time a puncture on that number 7 car.
Leaders in, this is Conway, just bringing the Toyota to its marks absolutely impeccably. Dumas was a lap behind. I'm just wondering how far. Can't see what the gap is just at the moment on our timing screens, but whether he'll lap himself quickly away, not much of a change there, just almost a flash and then back to action. Just waiting to see if there's a change in the lead by the time he gets to the end of pit row here. Buemi running in 3rd place. Great battle this between Toyota and Porsche, and Audi playing their part as well. Fassler, who had to return a few moments ago, is back on his outlap, and in fact had got himself within 8 laps. It's 9 now, so dropped another one after a big fight back. They'd been way off the timing boards, essentially. They were plumb last at one point, but have wrestled their way back to 6th place, and that's a real, I guess, underscoring of what's achievable if you just keep your head down, Neville, and get on with it.
Yeah, I think Conway actually has retained his lead. But it's funny, we were talking about this question of tyres. It was the British driver Wyn Percy who had a tyre go on the Mulsanne. And in fact, he hadn't noticed that the light came on, I don't think, at the time. But even with cars nowadays, you do get this. Quite a lot of, shall we say, certain cars that will go quite quickly, you'll get a warning that you've got a soft tyre. It's damn annoying, but it's very nice to know.
Outlap for Conway, and the Dumas is closing in the Porsche at 10 seconds, 9 now in the 9s. This is going to be fascinating. Couldn't see, I don't think they actually made the tyre change, so Conway wouldn't have lost much heat from the tyres. He's not getting them up to heat at the moment, but it's 7 seconds now. Real closing here, Jeremy. We've got a proper battle for the lead.
Yes, I don't think it's real, because I think he will actually go. If he was going to change tyres, he would have changed tyres. He didn't need to, so he will go off now. And theoretically, I think it should out now again. If it doesn't, then I think we've got cause to be worried.
Yeah, in the middle of a triple stint here is Mike Conway in that car number 6. So just scheduled there in for fuel only. Rejoins the race up to 1 minute and 8 seconds stop. It's remarkable how consistent the pit stops are. If they're just changing tyres, it's 1 minute 8 or 1 minute 9. I mean, just about every stop that car has made, in fact, every stop that a car has made for fuel or tyre, for fuel only, has been 1 minute 08 or 1 minute 09.
Yeah,
that's
and
incredible.
if it's tyres, it's about another 20 seconds, something like that.
Yeah, correct.
Yep.
Just looking at the pace, and it's now holding at just 7.6 seconds, but the advantage absolutely smashed. But Conway is a mark of handling that machine. The Dumas failing to close any further just for timing, so both essentially comfortable and back up to speed. But when we're running in the number 5 Toyota is on the same lap, but it is a minute and 25 down on our leader. Laps in deficit. Duval in the 8 car is 2 laps down. Further 6 arrears is
not quite 2 laps down.
Reinhardt, 1 3/4. In fact, yeah, he's just he's now found himself just a solid lap down. You're absolutely right, Jeremy. The Rebellion, though, in a great place at the moment, running in 5th place in the hands of Kraihammer just for the time being, just ahead of Marcel Fassler, who is back out after yet more troubles. That car has had so much fortune, hasn't it?
Yeah, just niggly little thing.
Yeah.
Well, turbo failure as well, but that was not niggly, but he niggles after that. But that number 13 car Rebellion Racing really done a nice job this season. Been on the podium twice already this season. Actually only on the podium once, but they scored 3rd place points on 2 occasions. And the difference there being that in the first round, the Audi won on the road, but then was thrown out because of excessive wear on the plank underneath the car, effectively the ride height. Although it's much more complicated than that, but the car was did not pass post-race scrutineering, so it was excluded from the results, and that elevated the number 13 car into 2nd place. Into 3rd place, excuse me. So that car's running now 2nd in points in the World Endurance Championship, and the car has run absolutely beautifully so far in this race.
It's well prepared, it's well driven, the drivers drive centrally. Again, we were talking a little bit about brakes a bit earlier on, and it is quite amazing the difference you'll come across with drivers. And if you've gone round with drivers, or you've been on a circuit with drivers, there are some people who are absolute animals with brakes, and there are some who they brake slightly earlier, but their braking isn't aggressive and the whole thing doesn't get out of balance, and it makes a tremendous difference, particularly in a long distance race like this. If you've got somebody who saves his brakes a little bit, it's not really saving them, it's just basically if you feed the brakes on properly, then it helps you. If you don't, then it's all run, it's horrible.
Yeah, and the braking systems are so much more complicated these days. With the hybrid system that's regenerating energy from the braking systems. The actual size of the brake itself is much smaller than a conventional brake that you would have on an LMP1 car, because of the electric motor that is harvesting the energy from the braking system of the car. It's incredibly complex. speed days.
Those not respecting the slow zone speed, and in fact we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cars under investigation, and some of those reasonably high up the order. Nick Manassian's 27 car is one of those, incidentally. Easy to find yourself getting foul of the authorities in a tight race like this, which it most certainly is.
Shows the new Audi bad look a bit too.
Indeed, it can have a huge cost. I haven't actually seen Matteo Tuscia in action. Have you been tracing him?
Yeah, he ran earlier on. He certainly ran 2 or 3 stints during the evening. Yes.
Only a teenager. In fact, is our youngest rider?
Yes.
I believe he is. So there he is. Matteo Tuscia in the 13 car. It's Dreihammer that's got control of it at the moment. But what a responsibility for a youngster, especially, and what a chance, I guess, especially as for the moment, at least provisionally, top 5.
Завтра в прямом эфире на Евроспорт 2. Route du Sud. 5-й этап. Ноттингем, Англия. За неделю до Уимблдона устройтесь поудобнее и наслаждайтесь красивой игрой. С понедельника в прямом эфире на Евроспорт 1. ATP Ноттингем.
Like anyone, I have doubts and insecurities. I struggle under the weight of expectation. These things have never stopped me, always trying to do my best.
Here's Jonathan Edwards, round 2.
Still can't quite believe it turned out to be the best ever.
It's another world record, 18 metres 29. He's just taken triple jumping into a new age.
Being an athlete was all-consuming. A single-minded devotion. Being on the other side is not so different. I love sport, the drama, the pursuit of athletic perfection. The genius, the madness it sometimes brings.
No, but Jacques, there's no mark there.
I'm Jonathan Edwards. You can only understand my obsession if you share my passion.
Welcome back, and excuse me, we also welcome back Chris Parsons. Chris, a lot of questions being asked of the Ford and the special dispensation it was given to actually take part in this Le Mans. It was essentially at the behest of all the other teams, had to give their permission, which of course they were glad to do.
Yeah, but some of them are regretting that now because they didn't think the Fords would be quite this dominant. Well, they're not dominant because Tony Verlander's out front at the moment, but they certainly have come on very quickly, as we said earlier. Jeremy and I saw them at Daytona in January, and the
They actually supplied the first car. I think it was yesterday or the day before. Aren't the others?
Yeah, but the prop production ones aren't coming off till October. So, yes, is a real production car yet?
Well, I think it's fair to say that it's as near as you're going to get to a GT prototype. It's quite a remarkable looking beast. I can't decide whether it's lovely or just a bit too Flash Gordon for my liking. It's certainly got that very large rear extension, the diffuser at the back end, which has now been permitted, and they seem to be getting longer and longer to the detriment of the look of the car, I believe. But anyway, here's your overall classification. The Toyota hybrids are 1 and 3 at the moment. The Porsche number 2 car is being second. They've had their issues, however, with the one car, as I'm sure you have seen, as proving that ill fortune is not just reserved for those further down the order. This is the LMP2 class, Red Rast and the Orica. It's Orica 1 and 2 for the time being, running 157 laps, so 12 laps down on at the overall leader, but nonetheless a great battle raging here, and some very, very close calls. In fact, at the top of the timing sheet, we're seeing Conway and Dumas, and they're separated now by just 4.2 seconds. I'm not sure what the fuel load is for Dumas or when he's due in, but Jeremy, I'm sure, will be telling us fairly soon. He is due to make his call. But for the time being, Conway is staying in front of Dumas, but it is nice and tight. LMP2, Rast and Pesh separated, both Orcas, the 26 and the 46, by a margin of 21 seconds. But on the outlap is Menelis in the 36 Alpine, and his interval is only 6.2 seconds down on that second place car. Vilander leads the pro class for the time being, with Richard Westbrook in attendance. It's Ferrari ahead of Ford. They were the two makes that had their performance hobbled. They were deemed to have been given too much of an advantage, and it needed to be pared back.
Not very much, though.
Yeah, well, it depends by degree, but
still way out ahead.
Yeah.
The Aston is, which is the next GT car up, is some way behind. But anyway, Jeremy says that the Dumas car is due in any minute, so
running line. Yeah, probably explains why he was closing.
Yeah, he's going to fall another minute.
He's still lapping quite quickly, but there's no question about it that of the two cars at the moment, the Conway car is keeping the gap static.
Dirk Muller has just posted the fastest lap, and in fact he went to the third sector, and this is 1 minute to go. Penalty for the 22 car, by the way, for speeding in the slow zone. Frankly, that's just a wee bit silly, but he's going to have to pay a price for that. Way down the order, however, it's Maris in the 22 Ligier, ranked 47th at the moment, so no great shakes out front. Penalties will be issued. Oh, we're an absolute stormer at the moment. Rennie Rast has just fastest through two sectors, sectors 1 and indeed 2, and he's on an absolute flyer in the 26 car, boy.
Often at this time of night, the cars do go quicker. The air is cold, so it's more dense, and the engines love it. There's no overheating problems, and they can go very quickly. You often get very quick naps at this time of night.
Well, it's the G-Drive Racing, rather distinctive Yota machine. It's the Orica Nissan in bright orange, and he's just put in the fastest lap at a 3:36 for the class, we remind you. But what an impressive performance that was. There'll be more potentially. I'm not sure whether we're going to see the 3:21.445 of Kobayashi in that number 6 car beaten, but you never know the way things are going at the moment. It is, as you say, Chris, we often find the speeds ramp up at about this time. The air seems to suit the functioning of the vehicles absolutely perfectly.
Yes, it's more dense, and the drivers really concentrate there. The headlights are fantastic. The lights around the circuit are good. They know exactly what to do. The circuit's rubbered in. The circuit hasn't been rubbered in much this week because of all the rain, so the circuit is now getting well rubbered in. Damien Faulkner gave us a lecture about that earlier, and the benefits of the circuit being rubbered in. So yeah, good time to go quickly.
Not going quickly. Mars Pasto under investigation at the moment, or maybe pit stop under investigation for that car. The car 83 as well, likewise, is also being looked at for exactly the same reason. The 7 car came back in very quickly into its release. I'm not quite sure why. Find out for you in a moment. But the 2 car is on its marks. This is Dumas, who was closing, it seemed, on Conway, but light load, and here he is now for his service. So in the pits, let's see how smooth this is.
It's interesting to see that the mechanics are now cleaning the numbers every time the cars come in, so they don't get hauled in by the clerk of the course.
They've been extraordinarily strict today, and I'm actually wondering whether the light boards that have been supplied to the vehicles are actually a bad batch, because so many of them have failed today.
It's a combination, I think, of things. I mean, let's face it, we did start under some very wet conditions this morning, and I think what happens is that you get dirt and everything else all over a car. Night time comes, there's bugs and everything else as well, and it just was, I think, one of those things. It is fairly warm out out there when the sun was out earlier on today. It was quite a lot warmer. It has gone colder now, however, and I think we are going to see some quick times now. Frankly, if the Porsche stands any chance at all, quite frankly, he has got to go for it. One way or the other, he has got to go very quickly over these few minutes.
Now, if it's a question of range, the Porsches are managing 13 laps, or they were earlier on today. I don't know whether they've managed to extend that range, but 14 laps comfortably for Toyota. Audi managing 12, and that's being reflected at the moment.
Yeah.
So it all really comes down to reliability and hoping that no one goes off and there are no offs, no gravel traps or whatever. But reliability, and Toyota look in a strong position.
A 1 minute stop-go penalty has been imposed on the 22 car for speeding in the slow zone, and that's going to feel like an absolute age by the time they are on their marks and beginning to take it.
I'm going complete dotty, and I don't think I am. I've just seen that one of the quicker laps that we've had for some time was actually not an Audi. It wasn't a Porsche. It wasn't even a Toyota.
Well, tell us what it was.
It's one of the cars that we are supposedly. It's the. I've lost him now on the ball. But no, it's a 336. It's a 336, which is a reasonably very quick time.
Is it Menezes? Is that who you're talking about? Well, Delis has actually just gone quicker than him. In fact, the times are getting faster and faster. Yeah. Kane at the moment in the 42 car is just fastest through 2 sectors. And so the pace of the vehicles is coming to us at the moment. It seems that the track, the oil problem that we had earlier on, it was oil dry, by the way. It looked like rain at some point with the oil dry being caught in the headlights. Wasn't a bit of it. But it's all been sent clear. Kane at the moment on an absolute stormer. Can he manage to land it through traffic?
And it's again, we can see that Brendan Hartley's come out of the pit in the #1 Porsche. We thought we'd lost that one, so he's set a sector 1 and sector 2 time. So the #1 Porsche is coming out again.
I'm still waiting for this Gibson 42 to come across the line and complete the 3rd sector. He's lit up the timing sheets, timing boards on 2 of them, and is clearly on mission. I'm just wondering, he can't possibly be pitting and not being called as far as I can get. 82 car on its marks just for the time being. Service for this Ferrari. Yellow zone 3, and in fact a much slower section for Kane, the sector 3 there, and I'm just wondering whether that has it. I hope it's not him. We'll find out in just a few moments' time.
Yes, Jeremy showing me
in the gravel. That's who this car, the 60 in the gravel.
There we go.
Brendan Hartley's set a 3:23, so and that is considerably quicker than most of the other hybrid cars are going at the moment. So that car seems to have got over its problems and is back on, although it is on lap 134, whereas the leader is on lap 172. So it's a long way down.
Sorry, Chris. Richard Westbrook just exiting the pits in the 69 car. At least I think Richard's still on board. I don't think we saw a driver change there. 45 seconds in arrears, also on the outlap. Also after service is Malocelli. Terrific battle here, and Ferrari still with the bragging rights. The 82 car we saw in just a few moments ago, he's away. So is Briscoe. Also on the lead lap then, the car of Dirk Moore, the 68 car. So proper battle raging between that trio, and in fact not much of a margin separating all of them.
And the Aston's only 1 lap back in front of both of the Chevys. So that Aston's doing very well.
We're on board the Chevrolet of Milner, running in 5th place in class behind the Aston of Sorensen. Some glorious sounds here. I'm looking at the grandstands as well, largely empty, I must say. Grabbing some shut-eye. I'm always amazed at the ability of fans here to actually get themselves to sleep, especially when there's this kind of cacophony going on. But you used to spend a lot of your time here in a camper van in the infield, the Bugatti circuit, and you slept like a baby, I understand.
Well, I worked through the night then, but I could actually go to sleep while racing was on, sort of during the day, and I never had any problem with that. And as far as I'm concerned, you know, I used to go the whole 24 hours. I don't now, because I'm not that stupid. I really don't. You know, there is a point at which you become incompetent, and I'm always incompetent, but you do become incompetent, and you're as well sort of to take a break from it. Otherwise, it just goes on and on. I think that the other thing is a lot of spectators come here. When I used to come years and years ago, just purely being impressed before I was doing commentary, I used to go out on the Mulsanne. I used to get down at the end of the Mulsanne. I used to spend an enormous amount of time going around the circuit and watching from different points, particularly in the dark when you could get around.
But there are so many spectators now that getting around the circuit is very, very difficult.
Very, very different now.
Ages.
Very different now.
Just following the 95 car of Sorensen at the moment, just staying with him as he circulates, running in fourth place, a lap down and trying to unlap himself. Well, the number 7 car has moved by the 13.
This is the class that's going so quickly.
Indeed, and this was the one who had a pit stop under investigation. He's clearly got away with it, but likewise on a mission. This is Dirk Miller we're riding with right now. The red strip, by the way, some of you asking about it, clearly it doesn't anger or upset the vision of the drivers, despite the fact it's carrying a bit of flair. It's for car identification as they are coming into the pits, so the lollipop man knows who to waggle at. But to my mind, it actually looks distracting, and likewise to many of the viewers.
I'm just keeping an eye on these times again, and we've got a lot of people in the 325s now. We've got Conway in the 324s on a regular basis, and the Rebellion has said it's 326. That is a quick car. That is a very quick car.
Negri Jr. has just pitted in the Leisure 49. And the Rebellion, I think, is just about to come in for a pit stop, the 13 car. But what a fight back by Audi. All credit to them. The 8 car and the 7 running in 4th and 5th place at the moment, albeit with a big deficit of, 8 laps down is Marcel Fassler's 7 car.
Yeah, but at the moment, you know, watching this carefully, the Conway's Toyota has gone well, no great problems. That one Porsche has gone well. You know, surely in that little group, somebody is going to have a little bit of problems sooner or later. It might all tighten itself up again, yeah.
Just pitting for Dirk Muller, coming out of 3rd position. In fact, here he comes right now. It's a tidy one for the Ford GT because the Aston of Sorensen has been on something of a mission. Let's have a look. Sorensen, we remind you, a lap down, running in 4th place of the Chevrolet of Milner. Great to see all of these makes being represented: Ferrari, Ford, Aston and Chevrolet. It's a good mix, boys.
It is lovely to have Ford back and have all these names back in GT racing. Terrific.
It's great as well that the manufacturers were keen to put a spotlight on their own class, and they knew that if Ford were racing here, that's precisely what would happen. So to everyone's advantage, but their performance advantage is something outstanding. Suggestion that they were sandbagging in the tests and got away with it for a long time. Well, they were modestly hobbled, I think it's fair to say, but clearly both Ferrari and Ford are functioning rather well, despite the disadvantages of extra weight that was imposed upon them.
But the aerodynamics are right on the cars. That's the other thing. When the GT40 was first delivered, there was all sorts of problems with aerodynamics on the cars. You don't get that today. At least it's properly understood. And when Ford came back, they did a very good job from the word-go.
Well, the Ford that we're seeing today is quite a long time in the evolution of it. It didn't just appear overnight. You know.
No, it wasn't just literally something that happened to us. You know, it's that morning.
It does look otherworldly, I must admit, particularly at the rear end, and just overshot the pit box by the looks of things. One of the Porsches, indeed, just having to extricate himself with a brief reverse. That was Duval finally out and indeed away.
Well, we've now got the two Audis running one behind the other, with Ollie Jarvis going out in number 8 and Marcel Fassler in number 7, albeit 7 laps behind.
Yeah.
These are the 7 laps that car lost when it had the turbo change very early in the race.
Yeah, he did lose some time, but the other car is it is pretty well 2 laps. It just depends sort of where you look at it and when you look at it, and it's doable. It's doable.
Just going to ask Jeremy if he can flag up when the Toyota of Mike Conway is due in. It wasn't that long ago that he was here. He just completed lap 174, and we're still not even at the halfway stage within this race.
Jeremy is saying he's halfway through his stint at the moment, so he's got a few, 7 laps left.
Well, he'll be flying because he's only got 1:09 advantage. What's the average pit stop length?
1 minute and 6 seconds.
There we are.
Just
fuel alone.
Well, if he takes on fuel alone, he'll come out with a lead, if it's absolutely impeccable, of 3 seconds. That's how tight it is at the top, boys.
Don't think he's going to quite. I mean, he's actually, funnily enough, the Porsche has done a very quick lap of a 3:24, and Conway's last lap was a 3:26.
I don't think I can quite hear you. You're just off mic there, Nev. There we are.
Oh, very much. Thank you very much.
There we are. There we are. Yes. We're going to take ourselves a brief commercial break, and we'll be back with you live here at Le Mans with 12 hours and 40 minutes remaining. Gosh. See you in a moment.
Ноттингем, Англия. За неделю до Уимблдона устройтесь поудобнее и наслаждайтесь красивой игрой. С понедельника в прямом эфире на Евроспорт 1 ATP Ноттингем. Я дорога. Настоящая легенда. Место для обыденного и выдающегося. Я ветер, солнце, дождь. Я декорация к Одиссее о красоте и страданиях. Я северный ад. Я беспощадная Гвадонга. Я гигант Прованса. Я получу свое. Я видела сломавшихся под тяжестью испытаний и тех, кто был рад просто выжить. А также закаленных в борьбе лидеров, поверженных новичками. И этот сезон не исключение. Следите за монументальным велосезоном на Евроспорт.
Welcome back. Just waiting for Mike Conway to pit with the Toyota. It's going to be possibly another 3 or 4 laps before he actually makes it back again. Dumas running in second place, still closing the gap, determined to take advantage. It's going to be very tight the way it's standing at the moment. 1:07 now is the gap. Dumas chasing on. Conway does need to pit. It'll be his 13th stop, incidentally. 13 already taken by the Porsche of Dumas. So the Toyota range clearly displaying itself. Looking further down the order, Audis, look at their pits, striking out those for problems for the 7 car. They've had 14 stops so far, with Ollie Jarvis on 14, 17 for the 7 car of Fassler. Kramer in, I beg your pardon, that is, yeah, that's true. I'm just looking along the line. The Kryhammer here of Rebellion just dropping down into 6th place after that retrieval by Audi, which has been absolutely outstanding. Just shows it's a never give up attitude that's required here in 24 hours.
Very much so. Looking at Conway, he's been a little bit slow. I think traffic probably has not been on his side. You don't have a clear run through traffic, but just as you'd like, you have every lap, and probably that's one he's suffered a little bit because he's dropped a little bit on that.
Well, we're on board with at the moment with that Porsche, and in fact he's got a lot of clear running, but he's clearly on a mission. He's trying to catch Mike Conway, or at least close the gap, so that once Conway makes his stop, he's going to be in a perfect position to retake the lead for Porsche from Toyota. What a great battle we've got, Chris Parsons.
It's seesawing backwards and forwards with the pit stops, but we know that the Toyota can go further on a tank full than the Porsche can, and Toyota have also got two cars. We've got one in first place and third, so they seem to have the upper hand at the moment.
Fascinating under braking to see how the distance closes down. Here again, and he's by through, gone. That's it, goodbye.
But remember, 2 years ago, Toyota looked at this point in the race that they had it completely wrapped up, but about 5 o'clock in the morning, just as it was getting light, the car stopped.
It can all happen just like that.
Indeed.
The other thing, of course, is that when you get here, I don't think we're going to have, as sometimes is the case, where you get a little bit of mist first thing in the morning. I don't think it's going to happen this year.
Well, I'd be very surprised if we don't get some mist, because there's so much ground moisture.
Well, it depends on the temperature and ambient temperature as to whether we do it. That's, of course, the one thing. When you're absolutely, it's pitch dark and you're coming out into the light again, that's when you really want to have your Conway at the wheel. So he's basically, his eyes are in, the whole thing is as it should be as it gets lighter. That's when it can be. The two things, when you get dusk, it's difficult then. When it gets light, it's difficult then. And that's where the boys really can show their class.
The 99 Martin, we just caught a glimpse of it. Beautiful livery, to my mind, the blue and white. It's actually a very, very pale blue, incidentally, rather than just a white. But functioning at 144 laps, the lead car on 176. Minute 9, Dumas' narrowing of the gap has just extended ever so slightly, and it looks like Conway, when he does come in, at least if he's holding this kind of pace, will actually re-exit. We're now tracing our leader. Lights flaring here. You can't, not overly defined. It's luckily we've got HD television these days, because you can actually pick out an awful lot more than you used to be able to.
Yeah.
In standard definition, where it was just a ball of light. Would have been very entertaining.
Conway's just put in a 324.
Yeah.
So and Dumas 326. So Conway's quite capable of fighting back.
It swings and roundabouts, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is.
38 cars battling once again, and really posting in some spectacular times. This is that G-Drive racing machine in bright orange. Not that you can see that at this time of night, as we just go through some of the gaps that are on the timing boards, but graphically represented, so you can see what the cars should look like if it wasn't so dark. But yeah, again, Dennis has just set a quickest first sector time. This time it's a 34.362. So if he doesn't get tangled up, and it looks like it's just going to be overtaken right now, I believe it's one of the Fords, I beg your pardon, as it was revealed out of the shadows. 12 hours and 34 minutes still remaining, and the pace that these guys are travelling at still absolutely outstanding. Last lap was a 3:24 incidentally for Conway, and a 3:26 for Dumas, so just losing out a second and a half over the 13 and more kilometres that make up this great track.
Look at the time, 13. Again, right on the pace. Everybody's sort of saying, oh, well, they can't really stay with the Porsches. They can't stay with the Audis. They can't stay with the Toyotas. It's making a very, very good job of it.
It is, yeah. The Rebellions, they've got a board, as we mentioned it earlier, that they draw a line through of the hybrid cars in front of them. Unfortunately for them, they're out of the top 5 now, because Faster has managed to steer the number 7 hybrid out into 5th place. So Kryhammer is at the moment doing his level best to keep up, but it's almost a class of his own for the time being, the privateers. Not quite sure whether that's going to be equalised, but for the time being not having a retrieval system. And remarkably, they are the fastest cars out here through the speed guns, because of the variation in the pace of the hybrid cars, lifting from 1,000 horsepower down 500. We saw perfectly as well on some of the kinks that we were experiencing around the track here. We mentioned it earlier on today, but it's very difficult for the LMP2 cars to actually judge the approach speed of the hybrid, because all of a sudden they can only have they lose the hybrid drive, the extra boost, and they're essentially running at about the same pace as the P2 cars. So if they don't get by, they kind of run alongside, and it causes a great deal of worry for just about everybody.
And next year that's going to be even more so, because the LMP2 cars are going from 500 horsepower to 600 horsepower, so they're going to be that much quicker.
G drives in. This is the 38 car. He really was on the attack, and that's because he was about to pit, set the fastest sector in 1, and is now here and being serviced. Running in 4th place, Dennis incidentally, so trying to make up the gap, which stands at 2 minutes and 52, but still running, just having a quick look now, he's 2 laps down on the class leader as we stand, 1 lap down, plus some time. Here we are then, 92 car.
And you really get an impression that just how much light there is available. I mean, the modern headlights are fantastic. I mean, watching some of these cars on onboard, really amazing.
GT cars running yellow headlamps, by the way. The brightness, the sheer amount of looms that have been put out by the P1 cars is quite startling. I think potentially distracting. But I guess it lights the way for just about everybody.
Well, you've got to take into account the amount of gain they've got on cameras at night, because that's also something that's...
Another car that we've just seen coming back into the race is the CLM, with Simon Trummer at the wheel. That's done 138 laps as opposed to our leader with 177 laps. So well behind, but considering they had an engine fire in free practice on Wednesday afternoon, they've done very well.
How's the 84 car going at the moment? Just trying to have a quick look, trying to pick out where it is. Running 36th, and in fact it is Christophe Tansau's on board at the moment. That remarkable car, which is it got the Special Garage 56 denomination for new technology, because it is switching between essentially an adapted car for Freddy Saucet and indeed the fully able-bodied drivers of Tansau and Bouvet. So great effort by them is being posted. Lovely onboard shots we've got here on board the 92, which is running way down the order, I'm afraid.
And the Toyota and the Porsche in the 324, both of them. So there's certainly a huge effort being made here to try and maintain position. I'm just looking carefully to see where Brummy is. He's still on pace, but he's got a little way to go before, you know, you'll have 3 on the same lap. But it's a possibility. But a remarkable performance by the Audis have brought themselves back up. They're not yet within real striking distance, but they've gone extremely well. And it's Toyota, Porsche, Toyota. Then 2 Audis now running together.
The 92 car, by the way, in the hands of Jörg Bergmeister, who is an extraordinarily handy driver. They've had a full season in IMSA, mixed results in both the United States and the World Endurance Championship, and indeed mixed results here as well. But in that regard, they are not alone. The Ferrari of Malucelli is the leading brand in the GT class, and for the time being at least breaking the hearts of Ford, but it's a tight battle nonetheless. Ford 2 and 3 at the moment, with Sorensen in the
24.
Aston Martin running in 24th place overall, but 4th in class.
Jeremy and I are keeping our eye on Sebastian Buemi. He did a very slow lap, last lap at 33, but we wondered if there was a problem, but then suddenly bounced straight back with a 24, so presumably traffic or something.
Traffic. If the traffic's kind to you, fine. If it's not, tough. The other thing that we were talking earlier on was about changing disc pads and changing calipers. One of the reasons why they changed calipers, it's as easy to change the calipers complete with discs as to change the...
But the units are all made up.
Exactly.
And all they do is just swap the
that's why.
But Sebastian Buemi
struggling. 92 Porsche.
He's falling back from Romain Dumas in the Porsche.
I'm actually wondering whether he's had a fuel here. Just trying to,
or has he got a flat tyre? The way it's craggling.
I think he's got a problem with his front tyre on the, I was going to say, offside front tyre, because it is for us.
Well, we're going to fuel him and then we'll see whether he comes in. Let's have a look. Do you know what? Engine that goes are not what you want. Just having a look to see where it is on track. And in fact, there we are. Car's using all of the tarmac and some of it clearly with some degree of moisture there. Not quite sure what fluid is, but we've seen a couple of Porsches go, I'm afraid.
Yeah, well, they're going to push it in the garage.
Yeah.
So I think that's going into the garage.
Well, fueled and ready to go after that. No surprise there, but they've had their problems, haven't they?
But they obviously, having refueled it, they obviously expect it to come back out again. So maybe it wasn't the engine, it was something else that was letting smoke out.
Yeah, we're starting to fuel up even if there are some problems. But clearly, it looks like they're checking for.
They're checking front suspension.
Yeah, just to see if all the tyres are where they need to be for the time being. Well, no great movement. They're going to stay put just for the time being. Dumas, incidentally, lap down. Just waiting for these times to reveal themselves. Half a second a lap quicker. Conway ahead of Dumas just for now. So the closing speed of Dumas starting to ebb just a little bit. There's the 82 car. Class leader Malucelli on board the Ferrari. We'll pick him up right now. The gap from Malucelli to Briscoe, we'll get it as the timing screens refresh after that crossing of the line, but Malucelli in a happy place at the moment. This is great news for Ferrari. Just like Ford.
But we've got Conway in the 324s, we've got Buemi in the 324s, Jarvis and Faster all in the 324s now.
Yeah, yes, Neville. But then look right down the bottom in 50th place.
Yes.
And Brendan Hartley is doing 22s in Porsche #1. So there's nothing wrong with that car now.
Not now, no.
It's got a mountain to climb, however, and just even more than Audi had at the beginning of this race, but with still more than half the race to be completed. In fact, in 25 minutes' time, just a little bit less than that, we'll only be at the halfway mark of this great race.
Yeah, he's got a fair bit of time to make up, but he'd get himself into the probably in the teens, I'd say.
Here's Faster, just coming onto his marks. Had door problems earlier on, incidentally. Here we are.
And also
with the 5 car, also in Buemi. Well, up on the jacks, waiting. It's a shame we just cut away before the wheel changes, which they are rolling through now. This is going to be a crucial stop for these guys. The second place of the 2 Toyotas, running third, incidentally, is the 5 car.
That was a nice way tidy stop.
Well, Jamie's run a clock on them for us during these stops, and we'll be doing throughout this evening. He'll give us a time in a few moments' time, but a minute 52 down overall. He's away. Dumas and Conway about to come in. I imagine he's only on 12 stops for the time being with his Toyota. 14 for Buemi, and in fact it's in the hands of Anthony Davidson. Anthony, almost ultimate competitor. I was talking about the potential for split strategies with only 2 cars, mentioning it earlier on this evening, but Anthony said, look, we're just going to go for it, as simple as that, and it's an aggressive strategy which is clearly paying off.
And presumably he's going to take that car now through into the light.
Yeah, well, that would be anticipating this. You know, we said, you know, it can be very, very worrying if you're actually starting to come into half light and get yourself into all sorts of trouble doing that.
I don't know what time sunrise. Anybody know?
It's usually about 5 o'clock.
Yeah, about 5.
Well, we'll find out in a short while. That's well, that'll be a good long stint for Anthony. Big flashes here from the number 1 Porsche. This is way down the order, running in 50th place at the moment, having completed or on its 141st lap. So 39 down on Conway's Toyota that leads this race, and that shows you what ill fortune can garner in terms of a disadvantage. Spirited fight back there. We're going to take ourselves a commercial break. We'll be back with more live here at Le Mans after this.
Le 3 settimane, questo sforzo intenso, ci vuole veramente un grande allenamento, una grande dedizione. È una salita molto complicata ed è molto difficile da affrontare, perché se c'è veramente tanto vento, anche chi sta a ruota dietro fa molta fatica. Penso però che per il Tour de France l'emozione più bella è quella dell'ultimo giorno, quella finale ai Champs-Élysées.
Монумент истины приближается. Ноттингем, Англия. За неделю до Уимблдона устройтесь поудобнее и наслаждайтесь красивой игрой. С понедельника в прямом эфире на Европорт 1 ATP Ноттингем.
We're back again at Le Mans at a time when we are still saying it's not yet quite halfway, but what we can see now is, as we suspected, with the temperature as it is, with the cars, if you like, spread a little bit now, we're getting some really quick laps. We've got 24s, 26s, and then of course we've got the revived, I think that is a very good way of putting it, the revived number 1, who, when we last looked, he was still in the 22s, I think it wasn't, Jeremy, wasn't he?
Back to the 24s at the moment, so he's lapping roughly the same pace as the others.
Yeah,
that was a particularly quick lap though, at 22. Jeremy, when's Mike Conway due in?
Mike Conway is due in next time around, I would suggest.
Yeah, I think next lap. Yeah, this will be his last lap. I would think he's on it now.
And he's lapping very consistently, as you suggested, in the 24 last 4 laps have been within the same second, which is pretty difficult to do when you're working your way through the traffic all the time. But Mike Conway once again has done an excellent stint. He is now brings that car onto pit lane. This is 181 laps completed then by our race leader, and I think he's going to be able to rejoin without losing the lead. Is he going to stay in, or is he going to get out though? He's done a triple stint at the wheel of this car. Took over behind the wheel at just before midnight, and he's now done therefore 2 hours and 40 minutes.
There's actually not an awful lot to choose between the pace of Conway and Davidson. They're both of them, I would say, they're probably the quickest drivers in their respective cars.
It'll be very interesting to see what Anthony can get down to in that car.
Oh yeah,
fresh tyres, cold air, and could be very interesting.
Yes, because Sebastian Buemi was definitely struggling through since we had the safety car period. He was never really he never seemed pretty comfortable. He was on the phone to the team, on the radio to the team, saying, "Look, can we change tyres?" He was having difficulty building heated tyres after the safety car interludes, and has back somewhat. I mean, he was only a few seconds behind the Porsche after the safety cars, but dropped a lot of time since then. It was about half a minute behind when he came in to make the stop last time around.
Anthony falls into that little group of drivers who, when you put them on the test rig and everything else as well, will suddenly stop and say, I know that's what it says, but if you do that, I think it'll be better. And they look at him and think, well, he must be out of his mind. But he's usually right.
Toyota have changed drivers.
Yeah.
We have Kobayashi in now, and Romain Dumas did get past. The number 6 Toyota is now 9 seconds behind Romain Dumas.
Yeah, so that was a regular triple stint there for Mike Conway on that latest set of Michelin tyres. Now Kamui Kobayashi takes over. He'll be about 11 or 12 seconds behind him. That's about right. That's a little bit. That's a little bit less than the time it takes to change the tyre. So because of that tyre change, the number 6 car has lost the lead for the first time since lap 143. That was when Mike Conway took over the lead for the most recent time. And since lap 89, the number 6 cars led all bar until now 3 laps. So it's been really a pretty dominant performance over nearly 90 odd laps here. The number 6 cars led all bar 3 of them.
Well, 8th man, if it is, and I think it is Matthias Bechet, they threatened to smack his fingers for not respecting the track limits.
Yes, that we haven't heard the track limit one.
No, I've not seen that one before.
We thought we'd put that one behind us.
Yeah. Yeah, we haven't seen too many of those, not respecting the track limits, but I suppose it all makes work for the working man to do.
Right. Davidson's getting up to speed, 3:27. Romain Dumas in the Porsche, 3:29.
Davidson 3:27. Yeah. See, he's full fuel and everything else as well. Yeah. So he's going to get rid of a bit of weight, and then it'll start working its way back into the 224s again.
Yeah, another lap or two. The tyres will have been heated. They have ovens here to heat up the tyres before they put them on the car. So they lose quite a bit of temperature actually by the time they're taken out of the ovens and put on the car and then driven slowly up the pit lane. But it shouldn't take too long to get those tyres up back to where they need to be to turn some quick laps. But as you say,
he'll want to know the first couple of laps that he's out there. He'll want to know is there any vestige of oil if I get offline there? Is there any vestige, all that sort of silly thing that people tend to forget when they come out.
Well, yeah, but no, he's got total confidence in his car and in his ability, and also he'll have been informed by Sebastian Buemi if there's anything out on the track that he needs to know about.
Yeah, watch this, watch that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The other thing I haven't looked at is the respective size of these guys, and you probably would be able. I mean, I know, for example, that Davidson is not exactly the biggest guy in the world, and the same applies to Conway, but Conway's a little bit bigger than Davidson. And normally speaking, what you try to do if you've got 3 drivers in a car is to see if you can more or less keep them roughly the same size, because it doesn't, of course, trouble if you've got one big guy and 2 little ones.
Yeah, absolutely, and they are thankfully on both of those 2 cars, so it does make life a lot easier from that perspective. So Kamui Kobayashi is now in second place. That was weird. Just had a little bit of a glitch there.
3:25.1 for Dumas.
Yeah.
We haven't got a time yet for Kobayashi, have we? Really a proper time for him. And a 27 for Davidson. And a 27 also for Oliver Jarvis. So it's still the same tune, isn't it?
Looking at the sector times, Kamui Kobayashi is equaling Romain Dumas with a 32.97 exactly for the first sector.
And with that pit stop for the race leader last time around, that has put the number 8 car Oliver Jarvis now back to just 1 lap down. He had been lapped a second time when he came into the pits last time. That was on lap 172, but he's now back just 1 lap down with that stop by the leaders. But then again, number 8 car is going to be on pit lane in probably 3 more laps, so that will put him back to 2 laps off the pace.
And that will be roughly the half distance lap. I mean, don't forget, folks, we've 12 hours and 13 minutes. So it's not yet quite halfway, and we've had some excitement, we've had some changes. Now, that was, I saw very briefly there a shot of Chris Hoyt. Has he got over his problems that he had earlier on while I was off there? I know he went off somewhere, or the car went off somewhere or other. The Chris Hoy car.
Yes, I'm just trying.
Yeah, Pizzatola had an off the birthday. But
it's okay now?
Apparently so.
Good.
And we're seeing that there's a drive-through penalty for the Tracy Crone car for starting the engine while
I would have thought we'd have a respectable time for Kobayashi, and we haven't got one at the moment.
And we have a car in the wall here.
Have we?
That looks like Arnage.
Yeah, and it's going not quite to the wall, did it? Did it actually get to the wall?
No, but it's going to be buried in the gravel trap, isn't it?
10.5. It's
Nicholas
34,
Leutweiler,
I think.
Yeah, Nicholas Leutweiler, who is... Where is he?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's 34 anyway. I can only sort of see the number on it.
Obviously a long way down.
Yeah,
third page.
55th overall.
Yeah.
So, there's only one LMP2 car behind him, actually, and that's the 47 car we saw expired a considerable time ago.
Yeah.
And we're going to get a slow zone.
Just going to cut the pace of the lap time, certainly.
Will Romain Dumas come in now? Is he due?
He's due in one couple of laps, so probably next time around.
Now we've got a Kobayashi time, look.
Yeah, because it was around.
Yeah.
That was the first one lap.
Yeah.
A 3:25.
But it's giving us an idea, that he is on the pace.
Oh yeah.
They are remarkably close, and it's undoubtedly it has an awful lot to do with the fact that I think the Toyotas have got that extra little balance of the extra lap, and that could make all the difference.
Yes, but remember, Neville, they both wrecked their engines at Spa, which was the last race. All right, they were bottoming, and they put it down to bottoming, but that was a 6-hour race, and they lost both engines.
That was their story, and there's addition to it. I strongly suspect that the cars were developed very, very much around doing this particular race. I think Toyota came to this with every intention of whatever else they've got to, if you like, make any changes for. We're going to have it absolutely right. And I think they did some proper testing, and I think they've gone about it. I think they've gone about it beautifully.
Well, they seem to.
Quiet confidence seems to be there the whole time.
Yeah, I was talking to Brad Kettler, who's of course worked with the Audi team for many, many years, based in North America, worked with the champion team, has worked on that on the cars leading the gate for many, many years. Unfortunately, he can't be here this year, Brad Kettler, because he had a road accident a couple of months ago now where he broke his sternum, which wasn't very pleasant. I saw him at Detroit a couple of weeks ago, and he was telling me there how the Audi team had definitely got the Toyota on their radar screen. He said he suggested to me the cars could be strong here, and it certainly proved to be the case. And the first round of Silverstone, there was a calibration problem effectively with the GPS system, which affects all sorts of items on the car. Well, who's that off the road?
That's the Audis. That's number 7, I think.
Is it?
Yep. That's the Marcel Fassler. And that's at the bottom of the hill after the Dunlop curve.
It should be. Perhaps I'm imagining it, but it looks hot to me.
Doesn't look happy. They've had all sorts of days. They have finally got themselves ahead of the number 13 car up into 5th place overall. They've had the long delay early in the race where they lost 6 laps with where they had to change the turbo. Then later on they've had various other niggly little delays as well. But
It is number 7.
Yeah.
We can see
Well,
now it is number
he's
7, yes.
Sitting here, or sitting there, rather like Albert and his iron.
That's the Audi that's had the troubles, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is.
So where is he exactly?
Kai Hammer's got past in the rebellion.
Yeah, where is he exactly?
He's just at the bottom of the hill. Is it Les Chapelles?
That away?
No, that away.
That away.
Just after Dunlop curves. Yeah.
Oh dear, that is, you know.
So he's got a long way to go.
A long way to, yeah.
To get back.
Down in the old S's, isn't he? And yeah, he's cast ground of Holly. See, they've got some electrical energy there because they're able to keep the headlights ablaze, but nothing else.
Now, I'm presuming Dumas
is in.
Is in, yes.
Here we are. And he's got the Audi going again.
Oh, this is lovely, isn't it? You know, you switch it all off and try again, and it's marvellous.
Control Alt Delete.
Yeah.
Yeah, several times. It took quite a while to get that car going again, didn't it? And it's certainly not yet up to speed.
No.
No, well, I don't think he cared. Ah, that's different. I think he wishes he'd actually left it a little bit longer.
Well,
but he's there.
It sounds like he might be getting it back under electric power.
Well, you see, it's certainly in home mode in some way, shape or form.
It's going back, isn't it? But the trouble is, it sort of, yeah, it is under electric power, but it's unfortunately, it's on the line, isn't it?
He's got a long way to go.
Yeah.
The circuit is 8 3/4 miles, and he's only about 2 miles into the lap, so he's got a good 6 miles to go.
Yes, it's interesting that we've got, of course, now a lot of electricity, if you like, in there. It's going to be equally interesting if we get towards hydrogen, isn't it?
When we get towards hydrogen.
Yeah,
because
exactly. It's going to be another one, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think I don't think that's that far away.
There was a demonstration here yesterday of a hydrogen car.
Was there?
Yep.
Who was that? BMW?
Did a lap of the circuit.
BMW?
No, it was the green GT.
Yeah. It's interesting also that there's this development that has been going on between Toyota and BMW, and one of the things that they're doing next year is going to give you a much larger range. And funnily enough, coming up over to the Mans, I followed my first 2 wholly electric cars. The American cars, the Teslas. One, I sat with him on the M25, bowling along quite nicely at 60 to 70 miles an hour, indicated, of course. And then there was another one, the car park. Beautiful looking car.
Yes, well, I've been to Norway a couple of times recently, and Teslas are very popular over there.
They are.
Lots of them.
Yeah.
I was very impressed.
Oh, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. There's no doubt about it.
And Volkswagen have announced that they're going a lot more electric cars.
Yeah, it's all changing. And now we're putting them all away for 5 minutes as well.
And Audi preparing.
They're preparing for the excitement, and it's still coming, but it's taking some time.
It's going to mean that
just trying to work out where he is, and it's difficult in the dark, isn't it? You can easily, in daylight, you sort of somehow can pick it out, but
here he is crawling home. Meanwhile,
I don't think he's very far away from us at the moment.
No, I think that's still on the straight, Neville.
Do you?
I think that's still.
You think he's actually still on the Mossad?
Yes.
Well, he is struggling then, and he's going to struggle some more.
There's a Frederick Sosa being lifted again into the Garage 56 entry. Car number 84, still running in 38th place overall. Christophe Manso has just done a pretty lengthy stint at the wheel of that Morgan Nissan. With Frederick Sosa once again, who takes over.
Up the inside of that, very nicely, thank you very much.
And the LMP2 leader, Menendez, in the Alpine, is 4 laps behind Marcel Fassler, so I think he's going to take 6th place.
Yeah, we just have to wait and see what's wrong with this car. It's still limping back. It's still very much off the pace. Now is that headed towards?
It's still on all sides, isn't it?
Is this? I think so. Where are we?
No, it's not.
Yeah, you're right. So it took the first sector there. It took over 3 minutes instead of 30 seconds. So
and he still hasn't got through sector 2
that's
yet.
Exactly right.
Yeah, well, we're going to leave you for a few moments. By the time we come back, so should he.
Creo que es bastante profesional, que siempre me he preparado al 100%.
Yo pienso primero en el Tour y me preparo exclusivamente para el Tour.
Es un deporte muy duro, pero hay que tener en cuenta que todo lo que tú haces las 24 horas del día es para ir lo más rápido posible en bicicleta.
Soy muy fuerte y peleo bastante